again, my name's Elizabeth and I like to sew smart, and today's project, working with our stash and out of our cupboards and not buying anything new, is going to be a hot dish carrier. And this is a nice padded carrier that you can take a hot dish to any function or gathering and it will still be piping hot the other end. So this is the dish carrier that I've made up using scrap. Now it has two doweling handles with little knobs on the end, which I've made, and I'll show you how that's done. Your dish carrier opens like so. Inside you've got a nice heavily quilted, heavily padded section that comes right over your dish. Now this dish isn't a casserole because mine is in use. You can see it's quite deep, but it will still keep nice and warm. You just fasten it. You can fasten it as small or as large as you want. If you've got a bigger casserole, you could make this a bit wider and bigger, but then again, when you want to carry it, there you go, away you go. And it's really nice. This part is just padded with ordinary wadding, but this we use the insul wadding, the insulated wadding. So I'm now going to make it up in another fabric, a Christmas fabric. As I explained to you, that we use insulated wadding to keep the heat in, or you could keep cool things in it, of course, but I'm using what I've got, and I have actually joined, there you go. I don't waste anything. I cut my pieces up and join them together so that I've got two lengths the correct size. So we'll need insulated wadding, ordinary wadding, one piece of ordinary wadding, two pieces of insulated wadding. This is going to be my contrast piece. Now for this one I'm using a fabric which has got a one-way design, so in order to have the birds going up on one side and up on the other side as well, I have to join that in the middle. I cut it in half and join it in the middle so that the birds are going up on one side and up on the other. For the handles, we had some doweling, ordinary doweling that you get from the hardware shop in the shed. So we've cut pieces the right width for the carrier, and these are just knobs, little door knobs that you can get from the hardware store, and we've screwed them into the ends, and they're nice and sturdy, will carry a good weight, and that's an easy way of doing it. On the blue one I chose these little black knobs because they suited it, and like I said, they're really quite sturdy, so that's handy. So that's an easy way. If you don't want to buy handles, that's an easy way of making your own. You don't have to use similar fabrics to what I'm using. This is a piece of fabric I've had for a long time. I've got quite a bit of it, and it was originally I used it for backing, but you could pick something like that, pick a matching contrast. I've chosen the orange. You can make it up in something as simple as that. And when I made the blue one, because I used scrap, I had a piece of this which I've used for the inside. As you can see, I've used that on the inside and added, I've cut down one of there was another stripe on here, which is this leaf stripe, and all I did was I stitched a piece on up the center to make it just a little bit less plain. So you can mix and match your fabrics. You don't have to buy new fabrics at all. You've got plenty you can call on in your stash, I'm sure. Now this is a pattern that I actually did in 2016. It seems like I only did it yesterday, but this was the original pattern, and I did bind the sides as well to give it extra strength, but that's really not necessary. And this pattern is available in my Etsy shop, and it has of course the template for the hand cutout, and all instructions are in it. So to begin with, we take the piece of wadding that you've got, and I'm using this for my outer cover, and I'm just going to put, I haven't stitched my seam together because I needed you to see that first. I'm going to lay my top fabric with the right side up. I'm just going to stitch this now, and this is my other piece, matching piece. I'm going to stitch that and lay them right sides together on the top of that piece of wadding. That is the first step. So I've joined my seams, so I've got my fabrics going the right way on both sides. So it's the piece of wadding, then it is the outer fabric, right sides together on the top of that, pin it all the way around, leaving a good sized gap there because you'll need to turn it inside out. Now on the pattern there is a template for the handle cut out, so I folded it in half of course and centered it, placed that on there, and I don't know if you can see it, I have got a red iron off marker because this is a very dark fabric. I'm going to cut that out. I've pinned all the way around the edge here. I'm going to cut this piece out for the hand hole, and I'm going to do the same. I've marked the halfway mark there, halfway mark on the template, and I will just pin that onto there so that I draw around it and continue pinning all the way around. I will then, using a generous 1/4 inch stitch, I will go from that pin to that pin, leaving that gap for turning all the way round here and all the way down here, just leaving that gap to be turning inside out. I've turned my work to the right side. I've left my gap, the opening there, but I'm going to catch that in because I'm going to top stitch all the way around. So there's my pieces that I cut out. I've sewn and clip them before I've turned. Now remember, when you've got a curve, clip but don't hit the stitch line all the way around, and then you get a nice gentle curve all the way around. So my next step, with this being the top, see that's going that way, that's going that way, excuse me, I'm going to top stitch all the way around, 1/4 inch all the way around here, right round to the bottom, around the curves, and when I come to this edge it will catch in this opening here. I will do that, and then once I've done that, all I have to do is quilt. Now because this is quite stable, I'll just run a line of quilting down the middle. I've got a seam line there which I will stitch down, and then one either side of that halfway down, and that's quite sufficient quilting for the outer cover. I have top stitched all the way around. I've caught in the little gap opening here nice and tight. Now this is the top of my work, so I'm actually going to turn it over because this is going to be on the inside and my panel that goes across there is going to be there. All that remains on the top now to do is I will have to turn over, I'll put that towards you, you can see it better. I've got to turn over this edge here because that's going to take the handle. So I've taken the knob off my little doweling, and what I will do is I will make sure that that can go straight through there. I will pin it and just double stitch across there on both sides. So I will pin that down and stitch across there, and that's the handles, so that will fit nicely through there. If I let it go, just make sure that it will go in, and then once I've threaded that in, I will screw the ends back on. You can see there's the screw, and that just screws on to the end, just like so. We do the inner padded piece exactly the same as the top, but I've got 2 pieces of the insulated wadding and I put those right sides together. Now the top is 39 inches long and this is only 33 inches long. They're 11 inches wide and 33 inches long at the center one. So I put the wadding right sides together because that helps to maintain the heat. Then I'll put, just as we did for the top piece, right sides together. This is what I've chosen to go with that, which will look right nice. Right sides together. I'm going to pin all the way around, leaving a gap for turning, all the way around, no cutouts on this one at all, it's just plain round the corners. And then I will put the lines on for the quilting, one in the center, one there, and one straight down the middle when I've turned it to the right side. Now because this wadding is a bit thicker, just take your time to make sure that you get it on nicely and trim off any excess insulated wadding when you finish before you turn it. What I didn't say on the original pattern is that I actually put a piece of binding down the edge before I flipped those over to take the doweling, just as a contrast, but it works equally as well if you do it the inside out method. So I've got my ends all turned out there. I'll just place that there. Now this is my piece for the inner wrap, and I have placed my Velcro on it. I put my lines down. I have measured exactly so I get the center line because I'm going to line it up on the outer edge. So I put the Velcro on, it goes in 2 inches on the underside and 1 inch in on the top because you just need that overlap, like so. So that gives it a better insulation. I'll just slip that out of there. All that's left to do now is this is the inside, and this, now remember I've got my middle line, but I've also got my middle line of quilting there. So what I can do is I can line my middle stitch line up with that over to the top and down to the bottom. Now I know that that's going to line up in the middle there because I've got it lined up. All I'm going to do now is to pin this onto there. Now it is pretty thick because it's well insulated, so take your time putting in your pins to secure it. So I'll stitch right along here on this 1/4 inch stitch line across there, down both sides and up. I'm going to stitch the whole square onto this, so when it's actually finished it will sit like that and the sides will come up there. So I've actually now stitched this on the square on here, lined it all up, stitched it on. This will come up here. I've put my Velcro on. This will come up here. That will stick over there when I put a dish inside, and then we just lift the handles and away we go. So this is the one that I made earlier that I showed you, that I made with the smaller pieces of scrap. All nice, got a nice pot in there secure, ready to go. And this is the one that we've just sewn. The handles on the end are slightly larger, as you will see, but it just gives it quite a bit of stability. A bit noisy. So that's got a nice pot in it as well, all ready to transport. And there we have 2 very nice hot dish carriers. So that's our project finished for today. So go along to the Etsy shop and have a look. The pattern for this is in there and many more that you might enjoy. And don't forget, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and join me again for another new project which I think you'll really enjoy.